Listen, I'm about to say something that might shake the room a little bit. Men need something more than sex. Oh, yeah, I said it, more than sex. And the thing is, a lot of women don't realize it, especially as they get older, because life hardens you, experience hardens you, pain hardens you. But a man, a real man, he is starving for something deeper. Let me tell you something that most people don't talk about openly. A man needs respect more than he needs sex. I know that might surprise you. It sounds shocking. But if you really understand how men are wired, you'll see it's the truth. Physical intimacy excites him for a moment. Respect feeds him for a lifetime. See, from the time a little boy is growing up, he is taught one thing: perform, be strong, don't cry, achieve, win, provide. He grows into a man believing that his value is tied to what he can do, what he can build, what he can produce. So when he enters a relationship, he's not just looking for attraction, he's looking for validation of his identity. When a woman respects a man, she's telling him, I believe in who you are. That hits deeper than any physical connection ever could. Because sex speaks to his body, but respect speaks to his manhood. And if you damage a man's sense of respect, you damage his core. Now let's be clear. Respect doesn't mean silence. It doesn't mean submission without thought. It doesn't mean shrinking yourself. It means the way you speak to him, especially when you disagree. It means you don't belittle him in front of others. It means you don't use his weaknesses as weapons during arguments. A man can handle correction, but humiliation, that breaks something inside him. A respected man feels 10 feet tall. He walks differently. He works harder. He loves deeper because he feels seen, not attacked. When he feels that his woman believes in him, he becomes unstoppable. That belief becomes fuel. And here's what many women miss. When a man feels disrespected consistently, he shuts down emotionally. He may stay physically present. He may still provide. But his heart, it starts to withdraw. He becomes quieter, less expressive, less engaged. Not because he doesn't care, but because he feels unappreciated at his core. Respect is in the tone. It's in the timing. It's in how you bring up problems. You can say the same sentence two different ways and get two completely different reactions. One way makes him defensive. The other makes him reflective. A man who feels safe and respect will actually listen more. Now understand this. Men don't always ask for respect. They don't always know how to explain that they need it. But watch how they respond when they get it. Watch how loyal they become. Watch how protective they become. Watch how much effort they put in when they feel valued rather than criticized. Respect also means trusting his intentions when he's trying. Not every man is perfect. Not every man gets it right the first time. But when he's genuinely trying and all he receives is constant reminders of what he's doing wrong, it discourages him. Encouragement strengthens him. Appreciation motivates him. A man who feels respected at home will fight battles outside with confidence. But a man who feels disrespected at home loses strength before he even walks out the door. And that's why this matters so much, because physical intimacy can create attraction, but respect builds devotion. Physical connection can spark chemistry, but respect builds commitment. If you truly want to understand a man, understand this. He needs to feel like your hero in some way, not because he's insecure, but because that's how he's wired. When you protect his dignity, you protect the relationship. A man needs to feel valued, not just desired. There's a big difference between wanting a man and valuing a man. Desire is about attraction. Value is about significance. And if you really want to understand what feeds a man's spirit, it's not just knowing that you want him physically. It's knowing that he matters to you beyond what he can do for you. See, desire can be temporary. It can be based on looks, status, chemistry, or even loneliness. But value, that runs deeper. Value says, you are important in my life. Your presence makes a difference. Your thoughts matter. Your effort counts. And when a man feels that kind of importance, something shifts inside him. A lot of relationships struggle because a man feels like he's being used for a role instead of being appreciated as a person. He feels like he's there to pay bills, fix problems, lift heavy things, make plans, and absorb stress. But nobody stops and asks him how he feels. Nobody checks in on his fears. Nobody acknowledges the pressure he carries silently. When a woman values a man, she recognizes his sacrifices. She notices the things he does that don't get applause. She sees the quiet stress he doesn't talk about. She understands that sometimes his silence isn't coldness, it's weight. Men often don't express vulnerability easily, not because they don't have emotions, but because they were taught to suppress them. So when a woman creates a space where he feels emotionally important, not judged, not dismissed, that becomes rare. And men don't walk away from rare. Now let's talk about something real. Many times women focus on how a man makes them feel. Does he text enough, call enough, show up enough, provide enough? But how often does she show him that he's emotionally significant? How often does she say, I appreciate how hard you work, or I admire your strength, or I'm grateful you're in my life? Those words may sound simple, but to a man, they land deeply, because most men are starving for affirmation and will never admit it. Being desired makes him feel attractive. Being valued makes him feel irreplaceable. And when a man feels irreplaceable, he invests differently. He commits differently. He protects differently, because he knows he's not just filling a space, he is the space. Here's another truth. A man can feel physically wanted and still feel emotionally invisible. That's a painful place to be. To share a bed with someone but not share significance. To be touched but not truly appreciated. That creates distance. Valuing a man also means respecting his dreams. Even if they sound unrealistic at first. Even if they require patience. When you dismiss a man's vision, you're not just criticizing an idea, you're questioning his capability. But when you support his growth, even in small ways, you become part of his motivation. It also means acknowledging his leadership in certain areas without competing for control all the time. Not because you're less capable, but because partnership isn't about constant power struggles. It's about balance. A valued man feels secure. A secure man loves stronger. He becomes more emotionally available because he doesn't feel like he's constantly defending his worth. And here's what makes it hard sometimes, especially for strong, independent women. When you've built your own life, your own success, your own strength, it can feel uncomfortable to openly express that a man is important to you. It can feel like vulnerability. It can feel like giving leverage. But valuing someone isn't weakness. It's maturity. It's confidence. It says, I choose you, not because I need you to survive, but because I respect what you bring into my life. When a man knows he is chosen and valued, not just desired, he shows up differently. He becomes consistent. He becomes intentional. He becomes loyal, not out of obligation, but out of gratitude. Words of affirmation build a man's confidence deeply. You have to understand something about men. Most of them are walking around carrying silent pressure. Pressure to succeed. Pressure to provide. Pressure to figure it out. Pressure to not fail. And while they may look confident on the outside, a lot of that confidence is held together by responsibility, not reassurance. Very few men grow up hearing consistent encouragement. Little boys are often praised for achievements, not for effort. They're celebrated when they win, not when they try. So as they grow into men, they develop this internal belief that love is earned through performance. If they do well, they're valued. If they fall short, they feel replaceable. That's why words matter more than people realize. When a woman speaks life into a man, when she says, I believe in you, or I'm proud of you, or I admire the way you handle things, that doesn't just make him smile for a second. It strengthens him internally. It reinforces his identity. It quiets the self-doubt he doesn't talk about. See, men don't always ask for encouragement. They won't say, can you compliment me more? That's not how most of them are wired. But watch how they respond when they receive it. Their posture changes. Their energy changes. Their drive increases. Affirmation tells a man that he is seen, and being seen is powerful. A lot of women underestimate how deeply criticism cuts into a man's confidence. If every conversation highlights what he's not doing well, what he's missing, where he's failing, eventually he starts to believe that no matter what he does, it won't be enough. And once a man feels like he can never win with you, he stops trying to impress you. But when affirmation is present, effort multiplies. Words of affirmation don't mean ignoring flaws. They mean balancing correction with appreciation. It means noticing progress. It means acknowledging attempts. If he's working hard to improve, say it. If he's trying to communicate better, recognize it. If he's stepping up in small ways, point it out. Men thrive on knowing that their efforts are making an impact. And here's the deeper truth. Affirmation creates emotional safety. When a man feels appreciated, he becomes more open. He's more likely to share what's bothering him. He's more likely to admit when he's uncertain, because he doesn't feel like every vulnerability will be met with judgment. There's something incredibly powerful about a woman who can build her man up with her words. Not fake praise, not exaggeration, genuine acknowledgement. Sometimes all it takes is, "Thank you for handling that," or "I feel secure with you," or "You make my life easier." Those sentences may seem simple, but they attach meaning to his presence, and meaning fuels commitment. Now let's talk about why this can be difficult. As people get older, they've been disappointed before. They've trusted and been let down. They've given praise that wasn't appreciated. So they hold back. They become cautious with their words. They fear building someone up who might leave anyway. But affirmation isn't about guaranteeing loyalty. It's about creating strength in the relationship you're building right now. A man who hears consistent affirmation from his woman will often become fiercely loyal. Not because he's controlled, but because he feels valued in a way he doesn't experience often in the world. Out there, he's judged, compared, competed against, measured. At home, he wants encouragement. If you want to unlock a man's full potential, learn to speak confidence into him. Not constantly, not artificially, but intentionally. Because when a man feels strong in your words, he will try his hardest to live up to them. Peace and emotional safety mean everything to a man. Now, a lot of people don't talk about this because it doesn't sound dramatic. It's not flashy. It's not exciting. But let me tell you something. A man will sacrifice a lot to keep his peace. Every day he walks into a world that demands something from him. Compete, produce, solve, protect, decide, handle it. He deals with pressure at work, pressure from family, pressure from expectations he doesn't even talk about. So when he thinks about home, when he thinks about the woman in his life, what he's really hoping for is relief, not another battlefield. Emotional safety is when he can exhale. It's when he doesn't feel like every mistake will be thrown back at him later. It's when he can admit he's tired without being called weak. It's when he can say, "I don't know what to do," and not feel judged for it. You'd be surprised how many men never feel that space. A man who feels emotionally safe doesn't have to perform all the time. He doesn't have to be perfect. He doesn't have to constantly defend himself. He can just be. And that kind of space is rare. That kind of space is priceless. Now let's be clear. Peace does not mean silence. It does not mean ignoring problems. It does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means how conflict is handled. It means whether disagreements turn into personal attacks or productive conversations. When every disagreement becomes a character assassination, when every issue turns into "you always" or "you never," a man starts to guard himself. He stops sharing. He becomes emotionally cautious. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's protecting himself. But when he knows that even in conflict, he will still be respected, still be heard, still be valued, that builds trust. Men are wired to protect physically, but emotionally, many of them are not used to being protected. They're not used to someone guarding their feelings. So when a woman creates emotional stability instead of chaos, he connects deeply. And here's the truth that might surprise some people. Many men will choose peace over passion. Because passion without peace is exhausting. Attraction without emotional stability becomes draining. It creates tension instead of comfort. If every day feels like walking on eggshells, if every conversation feels like a potential explosion, he won't feel safe. And without safety, he won't open up fully. Peace also shows up in small things. Tone of voice, timing of conversations, choosing the right moment to address serious topics instead of launching them when he walks through the door, exhausted. It's consideration. It's awareness. When a man feels safe emotionally, he becomes more affectionate, more communicative, more generous with his time and attention, because he's not bracing himself for impact. Now understand this. Older, independent, strong women sometimes struggle here, not because they want conflict, but because they've had to survive. They've had to defend themselves in the past. They've learned to anticipate disappointment, so they stay alert, guarded, ready. But emotional safety requires softness. It requires letting down that guard just enough to allow connection instead of control. A man who finds peace with a woman feels anchored. He doesn't feel like he has to escape to find relief. He doesn't feel like outside distractions are more relaxing than home. And when home feels like peace, he stays, he invests, he protects that space fiercely. Because at the end of the day, in a world that constantly tests him, a man doesn't just want love. He wants rest for his spirit. He wants emotional safety. And when he finds it, it becomes more valuable than anything temporary. Appreciation fuels loyalty more than attraction does. Attraction can bring a man to you, but appreciation is what keeps him there. Attraction catches his eye. Appreciation captures his heart. And if you really want to understand long-term commitment, you have to understand this difference. A man can be attracted to many women. Beauty is everywhere. Chemistry can happen in a moment. But feeling deeply appreciated, that's rare. And men hold on to rare things. Most men are used to being evaluated. Are they earning enough? Doing enough? Strong enough? Successful enough? They are constantly measured by performance. So when they enter a relationship and feel like they are still being graded instead of appreciated, it becomes exhausting. Appreciation says, I see what you do. It says, I notice your effort. It says, you matter here. And that acknowledgement changes how a man shows up. When a man feels unappreciated, he starts to question his value in the relationship. He may not say it out loud, he may not complain, but internally he begins to withdraw. Not dramatically, not suddenly, just slowly, because people invest where they feel valued. Now let's get real. A lot of women think loyalty is built through control, checking phones, setting strict rules, constantly monitoring behavior. But loyalty that comes from pressure is fragile. Loyalty that comes from appreciation is strong. When a man feels genuinely appreciated, he doesn't want to disappoint you. He doesn't want to lose the one place where he feels respected and recognized. That becomes his motivation. Appreciation is not about exaggerating or pretending everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging effort. If he works hard all week, say it. If he handles a tough situation well, say it. If he makes a sacrifice for you, recognize it. Those moments stack up. They create emotional equity. Here's the truth. When appreciation is missing, resentment grows. A man might think, oh, why am I trying so hard if it doesn't matter? And once that mindset forms, effort decreases. Passion fades. Engagement drops. But when appreciation is consistent, effort increases. He becomes more intentional, more protective, more thoughtful, because appreciation makes him feel like his contributions are meaningful. And this isn't about ego. It's about human nature. Everyone wants to feel valued. Men just don't always express that need openly. There's something powerful about a woman who can say, thank you for what you do for us. That sentence alone can strengthen a man's sense of purpose, because many men define themselves by their ability to provide, protect, and solve problems. When those efforts are acknowledged, they feel successful in love, not just in work. Now understand this part carefully. Appreciation must be genuine. Men can sense when it's forced or manipulative. Real appreciation comes from awareness. It comes from paying attention. It comes from noticing the quiet sacrifices that don't get applause. And here's where older relationships sometimes struggle. Over time, people start to expect what used to be appreciated. What once felt special becomes assumed. Of course he does that. That's just his job. But when appreciation turns into expectation, gratitude disappears. And without gratitude, loyalty weakens. Attraction can create excitement, but appreciation builds attachment. Attraction can spark desire, but appreciation builds devotion. A man who feels appreciated doesn't just stay physically, he stays emotionally. He invests his time. He protects the relationship. He becomes consistent not because he has to, but because he wants to. Because when a man knows his presence is valued, he guards that position carefully. Older women sometimes struggle to express soft vulnerability, not because they don't have it, not because they don't feel deeply, but because life has trained them to protect themselves first. When you've been through disappointment, betrayal, heartbreak, or simply years of carrying your own weight, you learn survival, you learn independence, you learn how to rely on yourself. And that strength is powerful, it's admirable, it's necessary, but sometimes that same strength makes softness feel dangerous. Vulnerability requires trust. It requires letting someone see your fears, your insecurities, your need. And for many mature women, needing someone feels uncomfortable. It feels like giving up control. It feels like stepping into uncertainty again. But here's what many don't realize. Men connect deeply to vulnerability, not weakness. Vulnerability. There's a difference. Weakness is helplessness. Vulnerability is openness. When a woman says, I trust you, or I feel safe with you, or even I need you right now, it does something powerful to a man. It activates his protective instinct. It makes him feel important in a way that no amount of physical attraction can match. Strong, independent women sometimes communicate from a place of defense. Their tone is firm, their posture is guarded, their language is controlled, and while that may protect them, it can unintentionally block intimacy. Men don't just want admiration. They want to feel needed in a meaningful way. They want to feel like their presence makes a difference emotionally, not just practically. If a man feels like you could take him or leave him without emotional impact, he may begin to detach, not because he wants control, but because he wants connection. He wants to know that he matters to you beyond convenience. Now let's talk about why vulnerability feels so hard. Experience teaches caution. When you've trusted before and been hurt, you promise yourself you'll never be that open again. You promise yourself you'll stay strong, stay prepared, stay guarded. But walls that keep pain out also keep intimacy out. A man cannot fully connect to a woman who never lets him see her softer side. If every emotion is filtered, every need is hidden, every fear is disguised as strength, he never gets the chance to step into that emotional space. And here's the truth. Vulnerability doesn't mean losing your power. It actually increases it because it shows confidence. It shows security. It shows that you are strong enough to be open without feeling threatened. When a woman can say, "That hurt me," instead of attacking. When she can say, "I'm afraid of losing you," instead of pretending she doesn't care. When she can say, "I really value you," instead of acting indifferent. That deepens the bond. Men are often criticized for not being emotionally expressive, but many times they mirror the emotional tone set in the relationship. If vulnerability is met with softness, they soften. If vulnerability is met with sarcasm or dismissal, they shut down. Older women have depth, they have wisdom, they have experience, but sometimes they hide their tenderness behind strength because they think softness equals risk. It does involve risk, but so does love. A man doesn't just want your strength, he wants your heart. He wants to feel trusted with it. He wants to know that beneath your independence, you choose him emotionally. And when he sees that softness, that real unguarded openness, it creates something powerful. It creates connection beyond attraction. It creates loyalty beyond convenience. Because when a man feels trusted with a woman's vulnerability, he doesn't take it lightly. He protects it. That's what makes it so powerful.